Counterforce. The counterforce, Yakushiryoku, deterrent force, is a safety device formed by a world to defend itself against extinction and is synonymous with the world it represents. The concept of counterforce is central to the world, and there are two types, Gaia and Aleya. Gaia is the will of the earth, the planet's intrinsic wish to survive and prosper. Aleya, on the other hand, is the collective unconscious will of mankind to avoid extinction. As humans are creatures of earth, Aleya was a component of Gaia. However, as mankind began to develop independent from nature, it became independent. With this divergence, Aleya is no longer aligned with Gaia and potential conflict can result. Despite being called the will of the planet/mankind, the counter-forces bear no emotions. They are described as passive spirals of energy that respond to threats of planet destruction or human extinction. The counter-forces are always active, constantly steering mankind and the planet away from potential danger. Usually, the counter-forces act indirectly. For instance, Shiki Ryugi was driven by the counter-force to eliminate the threat that is Sauron Araya, while Jeanne d'Arc is believed by Mikia Kikutu to have possibly been empowered by the counter-force. One exception to this is Enkidu, who is able to access the counter-force directly through their noble phantasm, Enoma Elish. Although Gaia and Aleya are intangible forces of will, each does enlist physical agents to deal with events too threatening to address with indirect intervention. The agents of Gaia consist of the elementals such as Luth Beowulf, fairies, true ancestors, some phantasmal species, and some divine spirits. The agents of Aleya are heroic spirits and the counter-guardians, human spirits who pledge their eternal service to Aleya in return for power during their lifetime. The counter-forces have immense power at their disposal. However, only the appropriate amount is unleashed to address a particular event. If the threat possesses an amount of power equal to X, then the counter-force will deploy an amount of power just enough to snuff out X and eliminate the threat. The amount of power can be as small as nudging individuals into place through coincidences, but it can also be as great as sinking an entire continent. According to Merlin in Garden of Avalon, counter-force is a defensive mechanism born of the collective unconscious of mankind, and that the difference between the heroic spirits and the counter-guardians of counter-force is that the heroic spirits are summoned by the hopes of men, while counter-guardians are summoned by the despair of men. Aleya. Aleya, Araya, is the collective unconsciousness of mankind and the drive for its survival as a whole. Aleya constantly steers mankind away from extinction. Usually, Aleya interferes indirectly by guiding and empowering an individual to eliminate a threat. Such individuals include Shiki Ryugi and nearby individuals. When indirect intervention is insufficient, Aleya will deploy the counter-guardians or heroic spirits. The deployment of counter-guardians is by no means subtle, as the threat will be eliminated with the surroundings, inflicting much collateral damage. Tuko Aozaki hinted that the sinking of Atlantis was the work of Aleya, though her theory was actually incorrect, as Atlantis was originally destroyed by Safar. Aleya is of particular relevance to Magi, as those close to reaching the root are deemed threatening by Aleya. Many of them go to extreme lengths to avoid or hide from Aleya. For instance, Araya Sauron attempted to hide his approach to the root by containing his experiment in a boundary field close to a reality marble, essentially masking his work by internalizing it. Human order, Jinri, also referred to as the common sense of man, Jinri, lit. Human principle, is the core principle on which Aleya operates for the building of the human order foundation. Essentially, it is the principle that humanity must exist for as long as possible. Parallel worlds in which humanity has destroyed itself or advanced too quickly and therefore stopped progressing are, following this principle, culled, allowing for only the most promising parallel worlds to survive in order to ensure the future of mankind. Should it be overturned or compromised as it was by Goetia, the fabric of time would fall apart and humanity would be doomed. Gaia. Gaia is the planet's will to survive. Gaia protects all creatures on Earth by using nature spirits and creatures of the Earth, but as mankind becomes independent, Gaia increasingly perceives humans as a source of threat due to their reckless destruction of the environment. Gaia's response to the human threat is producing beings that can cull or rule mankind. Primate murder was created to quickly eliminate humans. The true ancestors are great fairies modeled after the Crimson Moon, introduced by Gaia to rule over mankind. The destruction of the planet by Earth-born creatures is essentially impossible due to measures already put in place by the counterforce. Even anti-planet noble phantasms are unable to accomplish this feat. Counter-force of Aleya. Counter-guardians. Counter-guardian. Counter-guardian, Counter-guardian, also called the protectors of balance, Yakushi no Shugosha, localized as counter-force guardian, is a broad classification of heroic spirits made up of heroes who are not worshipped, utilized as a mindless counterforce. Other heroic spirits have a high divinity and act as existences closer to the planet than humanity, so they are able to avoid being drafted by the counterforce. Normal circumstances are those where the counterforce empowers a normal person in life to remove the factor that can trigger destruction, eventually causing them to be worshipped as heroes. Those who become heroes in such a manner are then used as counter-guardians, the counter emphasized because they act with no autonomy of their own and only appear in response to an event. Confirmed counter-guardians include Iemaiwi, Shiro, Iemaiwi, Alter, Iemaiwi, Kiritsugu, Sakamoto Ryoma. Confirmed temporary counter-guardians include Okita Tsuji, Alter intended to function only once before her Saint Graph would self-destruct, akin to a living bomb. Fujino Asagami, weaponized specifically to aid in overturning the incineration of humanity. Unconfirmed counter-guardians include Tosaka, a parody version of Rin Tosaka from Capsule Servant. Monster of Aleya. The monster of Aleya is unidentified. All that is known about it is that it won't oppose and target true ancestors for elimination, as they have been accepted as spirits of nature and its guardians, and humanity's subconscious both accepts and rejects them. Within the Garden of Order Singularity, there appear ghosts that are described as defective monsters of Aleya, representing the ultimate form of someone who absolutely hates humans. They are described as innocent monsters with super recovery, super stamina, and super skills. They are nameless creatures who appear to be reaching a state similar to that of primate murder, that which can reliably kill any primate species. Counter-force of Gaia. True ancestors. Unique existences even among the vampires, the true ancestors, Shinso, are incarnated nature spirits, being classified as elementals, said to be the original blood-sucking species independently established by the planet as its sense of touch. They are vampiric creatures from birth, however, unlike the dead apostles and other blood-sucking species, the root of their bloodlust is psychological rather than physical. Also, because they are part of nature, they can use the power of marble phantasm to change the world around them according to their thoughts. They can be classified as a type of greater fairy, and their foundation is of a mystery that cannot be reached through magecraft. They are said to be planet-class spirits, a rank higher than divine spirits. As they receive backup from the planet, it can be said that the limits of their actions are the limits of nature itself. Monster of Gaia. The monster of Gaia refers to primate murder. Primate murder, Puramitsumata, also known as the White Beast, Shiroi Kimona, and Ultrage demonic dog, Arataruju no Maken, is a monster of Gaia. Within the setting of the original Tsukiheim series, he is the first of the 27 dead apostle ancestors, but he is not listed as one in the Tsukiheim remake series. Tanaka. Within the world of Fate/Kaliad liner Prisma, Tanaka is a manifestation of Gaia, serving as its counter-guardian in the face of the overwhelming threat of the corrosion of the world on the other side of the hole. While she entrusts the fate of the planet to Ilia, as a terminal for Gaia, Tanaka is ultimately indifferent to the survival of humanity itself.
If you like this content, don't forget to like and subscribe. See you later, bye bye.